What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Brand Builder TV, where we want to share with you real world stories, put that theory on the shelf, and we want the real wisdom on how to brand and market in 2020, not 2004. What a big difference. I don't care if you have your personal brand. I don't care if you have products or if you have a combination. It's understanding the landscape that you're in now so you can keep evolving and moving, because that's what entrepreneurial DNA is all about. And that's what I love about it, because it's never boring. So that being said, I'm excited for this episode. This gentleman was referred to me by my trademark attorney, and we were just speaking before we went on, and he's got some awesome stuff going on with some awesome people and some pretty cool team surrounding him. So he's going to share first, before we jump in, Sasha, I want you to give us that 30,000 foot view, who you are, where you came from, right? And where do you see yourself going? So the stage is yours, big man.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the opportunity, David. It's a pleasure.
Man.
So yeah, my name is Sasha Der Avanessian, and I own a company called Harvest Dental Products. Started Harvest Dental in a 2-car garage in 2004. My father was a dental laboratory owner, and so he made fake teeth for a living. And he basically told me that he was a smile maker. And so that's what I told my friends. And that was really where I found, an affinity for the market, and just fell in love with that job description. To be a part of somebody's smile, to me, was just an incredible thing. And so that was kind of like my dream. And in 2004, I had the opportunity to start my own company, and decided that I wanted to serve dental laboratories with just products that were valuable. I knew early on that the market didn't need my product. It needed me. And that was really, for me, the foundation of building what I call the Harvest brand. It was an understanding that, everybody's got good products. And so the only way to really differentiate yourself is to be more valuable than the products that you make. And that was really where I focused. The company, fast forward today, is fully distributed in 60 countries. And, our core competency is manufacturing medical device products. So the actual tooth materials that are placed in the mouth. And from a focus standpoint, we're in the denture category, but the digital denture category. So now dentures are manufactured digitally through CAD/CAM technologies. And so we actually make, literally, it's like tooth material that basically looks like a hockey puck, and it goes into a CAD/CAM milling machine, and teeth are designed on a computer.
Yep.
And literally milled out of this piece of artificial tooth material, which is a high performance polymer. And we fulfill that mission of creating beautiful smiles all over the world.
I love that, man. So let's go back a little bit, because we're gonna go a little deeper with some of the things you just talked about or mentioned. You got to a point where you realize, listen, it's not the product so much; it's me, right? It's who I am. Where did that come from? Where did you find that? Where was that aha moment?
Well, I've always been kind of a brand enthusiast. I've always found myself attracted to particular brands, but they were improportionate to the other companies that I was aware of or I had experience with. And so, for me, I understood, and again, it was a process. Starting my company, I found myself struggling a little bit in the early days, right? I mean, obviously with no capital, starting in a 2-car garage, I didn't have a big advertising budget. And so I had started the company in a 2-car garage and outgrew that in 1 year. And then I was kind of living in my warehouse. I was engaged to be married at the time. And so I was living in my warehouse, taking my showers at 24-hour fitness. And I found myself in kind of a dark entrepreneurial moment. And it was about 4 a.m. I was sitting in my boxers, sitting at the desk, and trying to calculate how I was going to sell enough product to take home an additional $1,000 a month. Okay.
Wow.
So I was bringing home, I was bringing home at that time, I was probably taking home, right, clearing, $3,000 a month. I was engaged to be married. I knew I needed more money, and I was starting to doubt myself. I was starting to doubt whether or not I had made the right decision to
And you
start a
were
business.
you were a little past a year into this.
Yeah, I was about a year in. So I had a nice little spurt, and then I hit a bottleneck. It was kind of like I could kind of take it to a certain point, and then I ran out of that like girth and that muscle and that gasoline to kind of push me over the hump, and I was stuck. And so I just remember doing a calculation as to how I was going to get myself from 2,500 to 3,500. My wife had a job, so I was thinking, 2 incomes. Hey, we could make this work at $7K, right? 2004. And when I calculated it out, the number just it brought me to just despair, complete despair and fear. I just thought, I can't do this. And really that number came back, and I needed to get 300 new customers based on my average product cost and price point and blah, blah, blah. And I just remember it's probably the darkest entrepreneurial moment I've ever had. My eyes welled up, and I just thought, what did I do? Like, here I am about to get married, and I have nowhere to go,
Right.
with this thing. And I prayed. I'm a man of faith, Christian. I prayed, and in mid prayer, I just stopped and I grabbed a piece of paper from my little inkjet printer, and I just wrote this question: If Harvest Dental was gone today, what would the market miss about me tomorrow? And basically, the answer to that question became the foundation of my brand.
Now let's stop there, because now you're in my jam, right? This is really an important part of this story, man. And I want to highlight this and put some neon signs around it, right? It doesn't matter what title you put on it, right? You can say prayer, you could say meditation, right? To me, when the intention is pure, it's the same thing, right? And I want entrepreneurs, business owners that are running around like crazy, and we get thrown up on Instagram every single day about grind and hustle. What happens is that candle will only burn so long until you can step back, find the courage, and center yourself. And the only way that message came to you is because you were able to step back, stop that flow, that momentum, right? That negative, toxic momentum, and say to God or the universe, whatever title you want to put on it, right? Whatever works for you. Hey, here's where I am, and here's where I want to go. And I just wanted to share that, because stepping back and stopping a lot of times is so much more productive than trying to keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And it's so overrated. I'm such a fan of, you could keep your hustle, you could keep your grind, just give me inspired action. And my candle will never go out. But you can't find that inspired action until you can step back for a minute, right? And find out exactly who you are, right? And where you want to go. And in the chaos, it's so hard to do that. You have to be able to step out of that, right? Either step out of it or step into the eye of the storm, because the eye of the storm is the quietest. So I just wanted to, I just had to go there, man, because I love that you shared that. And that's been the game changer for you.
No, that's great. And just to bounce off of that, the only way to get there is to find a vision.
Mhm.
And I realized at that moment that I really didn't have a vision. And so, once I realized that, my role as an entrepreneur was number one, to create value. And number two, it wasn't to provide a good product with good service at a good price. That wasn't my mission anymore. My mission was to be missed.
Love that.
And to me, branding is about understanding what I myself was attracted to, reverse engineering that, and then those attributes became my brandable assets to deploy to the world.
So give us some examples.
Well, I mean, generosity.
Mhm.
Generosity is an attribute that I'm attracted to. It's probably one of the most attractive attributes known to man, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I've activated or I'm living in that attribute intentionally.
Okay.
Looking for opportunities to be generous from a tactical standpoint, by creating a catalyst, a backdrop, so that generosity can be recognized. And so, as an example, let's say one of my customers places an order. Now, I have to define that as an attribute that I want to deploy. In other words, it becomes a brand attribute, right? I say, you know what, I'm attracted to generous people. I myself need to be generous. That becomes an attribute now. That goes into my brand attribute drawer, and I treat attributes like products. They need packaging and they need distribution. And so let's say a customer places an order, right? Business as usual. Customer places an order. I ship the order to customer. Customer pays me for what he bought, right? But then from a tactical standpoint, how do I turn that transaction into a manifestation of the brand attribute generosity? Well, to be generous, two things need to happen. Number one, it needs to cost me something, and that cost has to be recognized by the customer. And number two, it has to be something that I didn't have to do, and that has to be recognized by the customer, or else they don't recognize it.
Yep.
You can be generous, but that attribute isn't being attached to the brand. And so what I would say is, hey, this customer, I want to influence this customer today, and I want to bless this customer today. What we're going to do is when you ship this out, I want you to invoice the customer, but I want you to put the invoice on my desk. That way, when I see the invoice, I know what I'm going to do with it. So the invoice has already been sent. He's received the invoice. He's put it in. I call him up and I say, hey, I just came across your invoice. It's actually on my desk. And I just wanted you to know that I really appreciate you. And I appreciate the chance that you gave me all those years ago, whether he's a recurring customer or a new customer. And I say, look, we've already sent the invoice out, but what I'd like to do is I'd like to put this one on the house. So what have I done? It's cost me something because I've already billed them. There's no expectation that I'm going to do this, I'm gonna present this type of gesture. And it cost me something because I had to stop what I was doing. I had to take the time. I had to have his invoice in hand, and I had to call him and express verbally with intention how I felt about him. And for, let's say, $300, right, the brand just gained $300,000 in equity.
100%.
And the equity happens when he walks away after hanging up the phone with me, and he thinks about me for 3 seconds. He's just watered that seed. And I've elevated top of mind by way of a great feeling. And that's branding. Branding is human.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with advertising. It has to do with him telling the other dental technician that he knows and loves because he's his friend, hey, you're not going to believe what happened today.
Yeah.
That's branding.
That 1,000%.
Right?
And 1,000%. It's that it, and we can say his name if you want, but we were talking about a company you're working with pretty intimately.
Sure.
And you said one of the before we went on recording this, you said, hey, when I met him as advertised, great
Right.
guy, right? Gary V. That's branding. Like you said, that, right? That's it. When it's real, when it's authentic, right? To me, that, like you just said, is branding. And what I love about what you did and what you do with the invoices is I'm such a fan of, if it's not a win-win, I don't want anything to do with it.
Right.
It's got to be a win-win.
That's right.
To me, that's the long game, right? That's the win-win. And if it's
game.
Right. And then
game.
if you can now take that a step further and figure out the ultimate trifecta, which is, how do I win? How does my customer win? How does, now in yours, because you're right to the customer, but if there's a third party in that, like manufacturer, whoever could be that third party, that triple win. Yeah.
The value chain.
Yes. Yes. Right. How is it that we could create that that synergy and that realness, that authenticity that automatically gets connected to my brand? I love that. I love that. And whether you realize it or not, back then you were ahead of the game, you were ahead of the curve, because you realized that your personal brand is tied into your business brand, whether you like it or not. And now, fast forward the clock from 2004-5 to 2020, it's 100x that your personal brand is everything in the world we live in today. Right. And especially with the team that you work with, they have to drive that home every day.
They do. And, you know, again, I've learned a ton from them. And, you know, and one of the things that I think people don't realize is that 70% of the customers that we lose would actually deem themselves satisfied with our product, our price, and our service. And so, you know, I think as entrepreneurs or stewards of, you know, a customer base, whatever position you hold, is, if that's true, if our customers or former customers at this point who have left us were actually satisfied with all the elements that define our business, why then would they leave? The reality is that we didn't give them a reason to stay.
I love that ownership, man.
And they were with us because we were good enough. The problem was that we weren't sticky enough. And, you know, so the question is, where do you find the glue then that holds us together with our customers? And that's brand. Relationship. Emotional relationships leave no room for alternatives.
Man, that's man, you need to write that down, man. You might have to make some shirts and hats with that. you might have to roll out some merchandise. Really. You know, it reminds me of the story I share a few years ago. I ordered one bandana. I wanted to see what the material was like, from a company called First Form. Now, a nutritional supplement company. Andy Frisella is a co-founder and out in Missouri. Long story short, back then, it was somewhere around $200 million company. Okay. So I ordered the $20 item, never ordered before, didn't know me from Adam. Okay. Went through their normal process through their website. I get a few days later, I get the package. I open it up. Now this is a $200 million company back then. I open it up and I get the item out, and then I see the invoice. And at the bottom of the invoice, handwritten, it says, "Dave, thanks so much for your business, and I really hope you enjoy this. And if there's anything I can do, please feel free to reach out. Jason, who must be in charge of the warehouse and the orders." You're talking about a $200 million company, and I bought a $20 item, never ordered before. I'm messaging Andy, Facebook, saying, man, this is, and I still share that story, right? It's that next level. It's that over and above win-win. Yeah.
And that there is why people will maybe can only count 5 companies on one hand that they're loyal to, because what you've experienced is rare.
Yes.
Because most companies don't invest in that emotional work.
Yep. And you use the perfect language to invest. Right? Not spend, invest.
Yes.
Right? That's where so many people fall down. They don't realize, like, you have, and I think one niche that can really run with this information that you're sharing is, because it is so busy. And one of my talks, and I have a weekend, a 2-day event that I do too, called Rise Above the Noise, right? And think about one of the noisiest industries now, or have been, is real estate, right? It's so noisy. And then on top of it, it's also changing because of Zillow and because of all the digital world. Okay, now you're a real estate agent, right? How do you need to figure out how you, not Century 21, not the brokerage that you're working for, not the brokerage that you own, how do you, Sasha, Dave Daly, connect, right? To create that brand awareness and that brand loyalty. I'd love your feedback on that.
Thanks. And yeah, and more than ever, especially now, we're entering into a connection economy. I mean, this is where the sheep are going to be separated from the goats, in my opinion. Yeah. We're looking for humanization. Everybody is. And, in my opinion, even going back to that handwritten note, brands, from what I've learned, brands are best built at the edges, not in the mass. So when you have that kind of big bell curve, the brands that really win, they market here. They know that not everybody is their customer. They market to people who are just like them. Right? And they hire people because the guy that wrote that note, that's a culture decision. Right? Like, if that's a value of the brand, they have to hire people who are not going to ship the product because it's easier to do that than to stop, grab a pen, and have to think about something to write. And that's how cultures are built, right? That kind of stuff gets vetted out in the interview process. When you're building a brand, it starts with immersion, culture immersion, right? And so when we hire somebody, they have to, number one, understand what our brand stands for and why we exist. And there is an investment to that existence. Intention, right, is activity. It's a necessary activity, right? And so, you know, these are things that we try to do to ensure that our brand promise of being refreshing, that's what we really hang our hat on. Interrupting the customer at the intersection of clarity and surprise, interrupting his day in a positive way. Being mindful of those value disruptions that we believe only come by way of behavioral innovation.
Love that. I love that. And going back a little bit, what you said, that's such a huge point, because everything starts from the top, right? And it's a domino effect, either good or bad.
Absolutely.
Is the people that are coming on board, the clarity that you guys create, so they know what I call in life non-negotiables, right?
Mm-hmm.
I believe when you don't have non-negotiables, you're not clear, but more importantly, others aren't clear, right? On that direction that your journey's taking you. So I love that. I love that you talked about that. Is, hey, I'm coming on board Sasha's company, and I'm real clear on what his non-negotiables are, right? And what and the values that his company, his brand, and himself stand for. Love that, man. I love that. And this pertains to any business, because whether you are a 30,000 plus employee company or a one-person band, right? You still need the clarity of your non-negotiables. You know, I think that's, and to me, it's clarity brings in. Here's how I look at life. It's a trickle down effect, a domino effect that leads you to the ultimate feeling. And I'm all about, everything's all about emotion. So for me, it's clarity creates empowerment. When you feel clear, there's not a more powerful feeling. Or if you don't feel clear, there's not more of a non-empowering feeling, if you will, right? So if you can start to create clarity in yourself and in your company, that creates empowerment. Now that empowerment leads over to inspired action, which now drops down to belief, which now belief leads you to expectation. Now you're expecting those results, and that leads to knowing. And to me, that leads to the ultimate feeling, flowing. So let me go back to that, right? Sasha, is there any better feeling when you're in the flow?
There's not. And you know, and there's degreeing measures of flow. And so there's always more flow to attain.
Yes. Yes.
And I think that, you know, you hit it on the head. Clarity is one of the most underrated powers on earth. And I think the misconception, right? Because what you're talking about too is vision.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I think what happens is people, they fall into a trap of thinking if a vision isn't too big, it's too small. And the reality is a vision, it really has nothing to do with how big a vision is, only how clear a vision is. So a vision can be from here to here. It's just a future outcome, right? And you know, a vision can't be sized, it can only be seized. And so you can't seize something you can't see.
Love that.
Clarity is the vision.
Love that.
Right?
I love that. And that leads us right into a question I have for you. and I ask every entrepreneur that comes on the show, some do, some don't. There's no right or wrong. It's all about you, right? Do you have a morning routine that you follow?
I do. Absolutely.
Okay.
It's been the morning routine for me has been foundational.
Game changer, right?
Game changer.
Me too.
And it's simple. And for me, going from no routine to a routine, what I had to do is I had to strip off the expectations again of, just I guess maybe the expectations of myself. And so I started 1% better every day, number one. And it's grown because that becomes exponential. And so currently, I wake up in the morning. I do box breathing. I do a mile run in the morning. I've started doing this 7-minute workout, a very simple app. Okay. And then I spend my first 2 hours of the morning as my creative time. And so what I would do prior to the pandemic is I would go to Starbucks. I'd write a blog, which is ultimately just my journal. And that was an interesting transition just from a confidence standpoint, because I was very insecure to share my thoughts. And through that found incredible just security in being able to share my thoughts to the world and just throw it into the wind and allow the wind to take it to whoever it would add value to. And if it didn't add value to some, I mean,
doesn't matter. It's not your job.
But yeah, morning routine is absolutely huge.
I love that. And, we're so similar in the fact that, my morning routine has evolved and is constantly evolving, and has been such a major game changer in my life over the last few years. And my whole morning routine, I even brand it, called the Monster Momentum Morning.
I love it.
It's got 4 different types of meditation. But here's where the aha moment came in for me, Sasha, was back in the day. If you ask me about meditation, I go, are you kidding me? I can't meditate. My mind's going, I'm this, and I'm too, I can't do it. I'm not a meditator. But what I realized is there's different types and definitions of meditation and different titles. And you were talking about running for a mile, getting up, doing some breathing. Well, check this out. So Monster Momentum Morning, I wake up, I feed my dog, I do 10 minutes of a light treadmill, and I listen to something that really gets my juices flowing, right? And centers me. Then I do a 10-minute full body stretching meditation. So I start with motion meditation, then I go to stretching meditation. Then I go into traditional, I call it zone meditation. I come in my office right here, close out the lights, close the blinds, put a blindfold on, right? And sit for usually 10 to 12 to 15 minutes. And if I can't quiet my mind, that's okay. I don't beat myself up because there's tomorrow. So usually because I don't beat myself up, and I learned that, I do start to center. Then I'm done. Then I get into the real game changer for me. And you're going to love this, man, because you actually do it, but you do it in your own flavor. Writing meditation, and I write my vision, purpose, and goals every single morning for my business and for my personal brand every single morning. And I write down the IMs, my emotions, on who I'm going to be and show up today. And usually 25 emotions that Dave Daly, the Monster Motivator, is showing up today. So the writing meditation has been the ultimate. Here's my thing, Sasha, what I tell people. If you told me that all those meditations I could only pick one for the rest of my life. It's the writing meditation all day long. So and then I go to the gym. Then I work out. But it's been such a game changer. And here's what's interesting to me is almost every person that comes on doesn't know I'm going to ask them this and has some sort of morning routine. So I want people to understand how important it is to what I call what I've learned. I shouldn't say call. What I've learned is called pre-paving, right? Pre-paving your day. So you're not that buoy in the ocean, letting the currents take you wherever they want to take you. Now you have that propeller, right? And I'm a big believer in this. And you've had some awesome quotes that I think you should actually write down and start the brand. Is life, you have two choices, right? You could be the situations in life can be your heaviest anchor or your strongest propeller. You have to decide on what that is. So I love that. I love that it sounds like your morning routine, like me, has evolved over time.
Yeah, because for me, so really what for me it does two things, right? Similar to what you've said. I love that pave the day. I call it prime the pump. Get myself going, and I got to win something first thing in the morning. And for me, because I naturally hate running, mentally, it's mentally more than physically, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I need to come into this office because at the end of the day, we're going to war as entrepreneurs every day.
Yes.
Right? Because there are always things that are outside of our control. And so the morning and the evening are the only two things we control. Everything else, we're reacting. And because I'm an emotional guy by nature, I tend to react. And I don't want to react. I want to respond. And what the morning routine does for me, and I know it, when I don't get that in, man, I'm a different person during the day. I don't like that person as much. I want to walk into here already victorious.
I love that. And so we can go a little deeper on that too, is the main reason you don't connect with that person is because that person is less effective than the other person.
Absolutely.
Right?
He's an undisciplined person.
Yeah. I love that. And one of how I end my morning routine after the writing meditation is reading meditation. And I'll just do I'll go all the way to, it's either going to be whatever hits me. It might be a sentence and then I'm done. It might be a paragraph and then I'm done, or it might be a full chapter until I feel that hit me. And I'm done. And again, if you threw me on an island and said you only have one book, it's going to be this all day long. As a Man Thinketh, James Allen. And one of the things that I usually end with is calmness is power. And right thought is mastery. And I usually end that with that from James Allen, because are you familiar with this book?
No.
Okay. So
looks like an oldie but goodie though.
It's a pamphlet. But I was down in Florida in 2007 with Bob Proctor, and he said to me, son, if you read this book for the rest of your life, you're going to constantly grow. So what I do is I buy and buy the cases and I give them out. But literally you could see, it is. And I tell people when I go do keynotes, when I walk on the stage, everyone has them in front of them, because I give it to the event planners. I said, hand these out, right? I said, anybody here not get this? And, might be one or two people. I make sure they get one. I said, hey, I just want to let you know that, I speak on personal development all over the country. And I say, all you have to do is follow this, and every personal development guru will be out of business. This is life 101 right here. That's how powerful this book is. Absolutely phenomenal book, man. If I can definitely hook you up, man. Definitely.
Yeah,
hook you
no,
up.
I've got it down here, so I will definitely.
Awesome book. But
Great.
I know you have a hard 2:00. So I want you to leave us with something. Leave us with a golden nugget that applies to life and business.
All right. Let's see. Well, I'll share with you one of my greatest gifts. It was a written note on the inside of a book that I was given from my uncle for my 18th birthday. And the name of the book was called Prosperity Secrets of the Ages. The book was great, but the note was the true gift. And basically it said, "Dear Sasha, our minds are like fertile soil. Our thoughts are the seeds we plant. An oak tree or a weed, either will grow just as easily. Be careful what you cultivate there." And so if I can leave anybody who is listening a nugget or a seed, I would say, vision is the most prolific asset that we own as human beings. The ability to see the future and become the future. And I would encourage everybody just to sow positive seeds.
I love that, man. Love that. And again, it just ties in two huge points, right? And you've talked about this earlier, is level of awareness, right? And the pre-paving. And when you combine both of those, you absolutely will win if you're being honest with yourself. So love that, man. And hey, I want to thank you for taking the time. I know we had to figure out our schedules. Wanted to thank you for taking the time and coming on. Anytime that you want to come back on, you know where to find me. Let's do it. And when we jump off, let me get your information, and I can send you a copy of this. And I'd love to send you a copy of my book as well.
Thank you.
Man. But I really appreciate you taking the time, and I'm so glad that our mutual friend connected us. Guys, as always, you get value from this show, share it, get it out there, jump on our YouTube, ask questions, interact with the guest, and feel free to share our links and get it out there. We just, at the end of the day, it's about the entrepreneurial world isn't for everybody, but when you find that it is for you, you'll never look anywhere else. And that's just the real, because we do go to war every day. We do have to figure out how to get through those landmines, as you said. But guys, thanks so much. And we do it one way around here, Monster Motivator style, baby. Ah!